Hello, everybody. Welcome to Lee and Low's Fall 2025 Seasonal Showcase. We are excited to share what's new in picture books through young adult novels from your favorite independent multicultural children's publisher. Our books are about everyone and for everyone. My name is Jen Kawam. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the marketing coordinator here at Lee and Low Books. I am a light-skinned Arab woman with long wavy brown hair. I'm wearing a gold and white striped shirt. My background is blurred, but if it wasn't, you'd see part of my living room and kitchen. And speaking alongside me today are my excellent colleagues, Shaughnessy, Katie, and Stephanie. They'll each introduce themselves as we move through our presentation. We're so excited to hear from some special guests today, Lulu Delacre and Guadalupe Garcia McCall. Each will share about their forthcoming books, the inspiration behind the story, the work they put into making it a reality, and of course, what they hope young readers will take away after reading it. Both Lulu and Guadalupe will be at ALA's annual conference in Philadelphia at the end of June, and our schedule for ALA is now up on our open book blog. Visit leandlow.com/blog to find out what we'll be up to and when we'll be hosting signings for both Lulu and Guadalupe. You won't want to miss the chance to meet these incredible award-winning authors. To enable closed captioning on your screen, navigate to the Zoom webinar controls toolbar and click the show captions icon. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting subtitle settings. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. Simply find the Q&A button in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen and type your questions into the box that appears. Following the presentation, all registrants will receive a link to the recording via email, and the recording will also be posted on our YouTube channel. Be sure to request access to digital review copies for all the books we'll cover today in Edelweiss. You can also browse our various catalogs while you're there too. And we'll move on to the next slide. Looking for resources to create lesson plans, guide student reading, and select diverse texts for your shelves? We've got you covered. Our literacy team of former classroom teachers takes care to create detailed cross-curricular teacher's guides and thematic lists to make it easy for you to incorporate any Lee and Low title into your classroom or library. Bookmark leeandlow.com to download these free resources and check out our special offers section where you can find great deals on quality, diverse books. And before diving into fall 2025, we want to give a quick shout out to our star-studded spring 2025 titles. These stars just go to show that we are not the only ones that think these books are pretty dang spectacular. And if you're an audiobook lover like me, you'll be happy to know that The Real Wish and Flying in Colors both have audiobooks available from Recorded Books. All of these titles are also still available on Edelweiss in case you'd like to request a review copy. Submissions for our New Voices Award are open through June 30th. Lee and Low is looking for unpublished writers of color or Indigenous/Native writers hoping to break into the publishing industry for the first time with their picture book manuscript. Head to our website to learn more about the contest and submit your picture book manuscript before time runs out. And now, let's kick things off with our brand new Drumbeat Decodable book collection. Live attendees of today's virtual presentation will be automatically entered into a sweepstakes for a chance to win a set of all 5 books, and 5 lucky winners will be selected at random. We're thrilled to share that the collection received a starred review from School Library Journal. They said, simple text with clear and specific targeted practice for emergent readers reinforce foundational skills like segmenting and blending CVC words. The illustrations are breathtaking and lend themselves to lots of rich conversation. Now I'll pass the mic on to Katie to introduce herself and talk more about our Drumbeat Decodables.
Thanks so much, Jen. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here today. My name is Katie Potter. I'm the Senior Literacy Manager at Lee& Low, and I'm responsible for developing our educator resources and professional development offerings. My pronouns are she and her, and I am a white woman. I have brown hair that's pulled back in a bun, and I'm wearing a navy blue button-down shirt. So, as Jen so kindly mentioned, the START review, which we are super happy about, and I'm going to give a little bit more context about the Drumbeat series. Published in collaboration with Indigenous Education Press, the Drumbeat Decodable Book Collection is a groundbreaking early reader series that strengthens phonics skills and offers much needed Indigenous and Native American content to literacy programs. So you can see here the author and illustrator. The series was written by Anishinaabe educator Sandra Samat, member of Nibiskonan First Nation Treaty 2 territory, and illustrated by Anishinaabe artist Julian Grafenauer, member of Didibinaya Zibing Rolling River First Nation Treaty 4 territory. So this set of 5 decodable books provides the systematic practice children need to become phonics rise readers. So we're working on short A in this book, Janet Camp. So you'll see words like tan, van, and Jan. These stories teach readers short vowels, which I had mentioned in the previous slide, short A. So A, E, I, O, U, in the context of consonant, vowel, consonant, or CVC words. So here you'll see short E in the form of ret, jet, net, and gets, and many more that are interspersed throughout the book. Each book contains a word list, high frequency words, story words, and short vowel words. And each title has additional activities in the back of the book, including fill in the blank sentences, word searches, and more. There are also free lesson plans for every book to accompany your teaching practice online at our website, which we encourage you to check those out. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the many curricular connections that you can make with the Drumbeat series in any of your blocks throughout the day. So in addition to the phonics and foundational skills focus, the Drumbeat collection provides multiple opportunities to deepen content knowledge in the classroom. So some examples include ELA, reading alongside Indigenous peoples and Native American titles and learning about Indigenous peoples and Native American culture. In STEM or in science blocks, learning about the importance of nature and biodiversity and humans living in balance with nature and the land. For social studies, learning about contemporary daily life, activities, and family and community of Indigenous peoples and Native Americans, specifically First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. Also conducting author studies, learning about author Sandra Samat and illustrator Julian Grafenauer's nations and connecting students to the nations that they're a part of and are Indigenous to their own communities in their surrounding area. Also analyzing how Julian and Sandra incorporate aspects of their identities, experiences, and cultures into the Drumbeat collection. And also serving as mentor texts for different writing pieces, for creating their own artwork, and infusing students' lives into their own work. So here are some lesson plan highlights. And again, our lesson plans all follow the same template and structure, but you are free to adapt and select whatever you want from these lesson plans that work best for your teaching practice. So there are sections dedicated to concepts of print and reading strategies, which talks about blending letters to read phonetically regular sounds, using high frequency words and reading with varied sentences fluently. There's a getting ready to read section, which helps educators encourage students to sound each letter if word can be sounded out phonetically. And then we also help educators point out consonant blends, digraphs, word families, and other vowel sounds that they know. So what's wonderful about the Drumbeat series is there are those fill in the blanks and read and review sections that you can make photocopies of or use an overhead projector film to complete with a small group or with the whole class. Also practicing multisyllabic words and names from the book by segmenting and chunking into syllables. And then there are interdisciplinary activities at the end of the lesson plan. So, for example, in the social studies section, engaging with your county or state government to connect with local Indigenous communities and inviting Indigenous knowledge keepers and language keepers, librarians, and storytellers to share their stories, whether that's virtual or in the classroom or in whatever setting you're working in. And another social studies activity that you can do is helping students understand the importance of land to Indigenous peoples of North America and sharing a map of traditional territories. Native Land Digital is a great resource for this. And then again, discussing how a different territory and geography can influence culture, stories, and language. And to conclude the section on the Drumbeat series, I wanted to include this statement from Good Minds. Indigenous stories have familiar connections for Indigenous healing, empowerment, and resilience, and enhance cultural understandings, mutual respect, empathy, and reconciliation through shared realities. So again, to emphasize, to reiterate, the Drumbeat Decodable Collection is part of our exclusive sole source Bebop Books imprint. So the Bebop Books imprint is our Lee and Low book school line that publishes content-rich titles that support early literacy learning in English and Spanish for emergent and early readers. And we encourage you to check out our Bebop catalog to learn more. And we have a variety of other book lists and catalogs to aid in any of your teaching in an educational setting. So please check out our catalogs page on our website. And then you can also contact quotes at leeandlow.com to start building out a custom collection, or you can certainly reach out to me if you have additional questions. And now I am going to hand it over to Stephanie, who's going to talk about our picture books.
Thank you, Katie. Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Frescas Macias. I'm an assistant editor at Lee and Low. My pronouns are she, hers. I'm a tan Mexican woman with black hair just below my shoulders, and I'm wearing a white colored shirt. The background behind me is blurred, but it's a cream wall. So if we can move to the next slide. This fall, we're thrilled to release the paperback edition of the award-winning bilingual picture book, Marisol McDonald and the Clash Bash, Marisol McDonald y la Fiesta Sin Igual, written by Monica Brown and illustrated by Sarah Palacios. You may know our favorite Peruvian, Scottish, American redhead from companion books Marisol McDonald Doesn't Match or Marisol McDonald and the Monster. In the Clash Bash, everyone wants Marisol to decide if she wants a soccer or unicorn-themed birthday party, but what she really wants is for her grandmother to visit from Peru. Her parents tell her not to get her hopes up since visiting from so far away is tricky and expensive, but with the help of a computer, Marisol gets the best surprise she could hope for during her one-of-a-kind pirate slash soccer slash princess slash unicorn themed party. Tapping into children's loves for celebrating birthdays, this joyful book is perfect for young readers from 5 to 8 years old. Marisol's confidence in choosing to have the birthday party she wanted with mismatched costumes and decorations shows readers it's okay to be different and choose to embrace their own individuality. Marisol's wide range of interest also fosters curiosity, encouraging children to explore anything that sparks their interest. This book depicts a very loving and supportive multiracial family, providing representation for the growing number of multiracial families in the U.S. A sweet note by beloved author Monica Brown shares her experience growing up in a Peruvian Scottish American family like Marisol, and how her family's love also helped her embrace everything that made her unique. Matching Marisol's love for bold, colorful clothes, Sarah Palacios fills her illustrations with bright colors created with a fun clash of cut paper, ink, markers, and digital artwork. The Spanish text prioritizes giving Spanish readers a natural and joyful reading experience rather than a literal translation of English text, making this a great book for readers in either language. A glossary also defines keywords in both languages. Marisol McDonald and the Clash Bash is an especially great title for discussions of different art techniques, building self-esteem, immigrant families, and Hispanic Heritage Month. Next, we're very proud to present the paperback edition of The Great Voyages of Zheng He, a gorgeously illustrated biography of a Chinese explorer written and illustrated by Demi. Readers may also be familiar with Demi's Confucius, another biography about a significant figure in Chinese history filled with lush illustrations. As a child, Zheng He was brought to serve a prince in Nanjing when his father died in battle. He grew up to be the admiral of the navy, having earned a reputation for being bright and loyal. He set out on his first voyage in the year 1405, carrying silks, spices, porcelain, and more for trade. Ultimately, Zheng He visited and established trade with dozens of regions, ranging from modern-day Sri Lanka to Saudi Arabia and as far as Kenya. This nonfiction picture book is perfect for bringing units on world explorers and the age of discovery to life. Young readers will be hooked by the action and grand experiences that filled He's life. He traveled with a fleet of over 500 gargantuan ships, fought off pirates, and amassed a vast wealth of knowledge previously unknown to China about the cultures, wildlife, and weather patterns of lands far and wide. Demi also provides context around He's life, giving a fascinating look into the political and cultural history of China, like the Ming Dynasty emperors that ruled during He's lifetime, the construction of several grand monuments, and how trade with Arab, African, and other Asian countries led to the establishment of the first Chinese zoo. Demi depicts all of He's adventures and the historical figures involved in her trademark style, filled with intricate, beautiful details and vibrant colors. She also includes a helpful map that shows everywhere that He visited, highlighting the breadth of his travels. Unlike many other well-known ancient explorers, He was known for his policy of peace. Demi recounts his many peaceful encounters with other nations. He was admired for connecting people of various cultures and religions and fostering goodwill. The Great Voyages of Zheng He is a perfect book for readers looking for eye-catching picture book biographies, beautiful, realistic art, and discussing empathy through He's respect for others. Now, Jen will share a look into two exciting, brand new picture books coming this fall. Take it away.
Thanks, Stephanie. I'm back to chat about The Echo People from debut author S.D. Youngwolf, illustrated by acclaimed artist Shanto Begay. The Echo People is a thought-provoking picture book for ages 4 to 8 about the ways we create our own realities through the words and actions that we put out into the world. In this story, two young children go on a journey of discovery with their grandfather, a great chief. After offering prayers to Creator, grandfather leads Ayana and Little Wolf separately to the river gorge to meet the Echo People. There, surrounded by the beauty of Mother Earth, the children connect with the Echo People in a way that reveals something about themselves and learn a valuable lesson that will guide them through their lives. Winner of Lian Lo's New Voices Award, The Echo People gently teaches readers that if we meet the world with love and kindness, then that kindness is echoed back to us. We're especially excited to showcase the work of esteemed fine artist Shanto Begay, a citizen of the Navajo Nation whose art has been exhibited in galleries and museums worldwide. His acrylic paintings are done in a series of small brushstrokes that repeat like the words of a traditional Navajo blessing prayer. The illustrations reflect this signature style, which is not often seen in his picture books. We see this book sitting alongside award-winning titles like All Around Us and Each Kindness, emphasizing humanity's interconnectedness with each other and the natural world. The rippling energy of the art also really reinforces this theme. Caregivers can use the Echo People to jumpstart discussions about empathy, kindness, and the consequences and power that our actions and words can have. Add this title to displays for Indigenous Peoples Day and Native American Heritage Month, as well as Kindness Week and Earth Day. So before bringing out award-winning author Lulu Delacre, I'd like to chat a little bit about her upcoming title, which, if you didn't already guess, features the adorable tree frogs that you see on these beautiful book covers. Our favorite, curious, fun-loving tree frog siblings are back in Rafi and Rosie Menu. In this fifth and final book in the Early Reader series, which can be read in any order, by the way, the Coquis visit Abuela's hometown, where they learn to cook up delicious Puerto Rican treats, aranitas, guava shells and syrup, and pasteles. The Spanish edition, Rafi y Rosie Menu, will be available in both hardcover and paperback, just like the English. And as in all Rafi and Rosie books, there is a glossary at the beginning to help readers with unfamiliar words and terms, and a Did You Know section with additional nonfiction information. So even though the stories are fiction, the content is thoroughly researched, accurate, and authentic. Award-winning author-illustrator Lulu Delacre's childhood in Puerto Rico inspired Rafi and Rosie's adventures. For Menu, Lulu researched the history of native foods and visited the location of the story, where she took hundreds of reference photos. I'll pass it over to Lulu herself now, but if you have any questions for her, be sure to leave them in the chat.
Hi, everyone. So my name, as you heard, is Lulu Delacre. I am an author and illustrator, bilingual author and illustrator of children's books. And I am thrilled to be talking about these books, the series, in the whole of the series. Let me tell you about myself. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. I have short silver hair. I'm wearing a white shirt. And in the back, you can see part of my studio. It's a small studio, but it's actually very well lit. And I'm gonna, okay. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about the genesis of the series to start with. So what prompted me to write children's books, or to write about two Coquis tree frogs? By the way, they are siblings. What prompted me to do this was actually my childhood. The island of Puerto Rico has given me so much, and it is the culture, the language, the traditions, the music, the food, the legends that surround all these beauty of this island, the people, all that I brought with me when I moved to the mainland. And not only I brought it with me, I brought it within me. And it all happened one day as I was waiting for my daughter to come out of art school. I had my sketchbook with me, and I started sketching. And what did I start sketching? I started sketching little tree frogs. Because why? Because every single Puerto Rican, when they leave the island, they listen to the song of El Coquis in their brain. It is embedded within us. When I call my friends in the island, I can hear the song of El Coquis. Cookie, cookie, cookie. So I started sketching. Out of these sketches, adventures, actually characters, came up. How did that happen? Well, I began to think about things that had happened to me. And as I drew them more and more, I knew that Rafi was going to be the older brother, the kind of brother that would sometimes play tricks on his sister and tell her, no, you cannot do this because you are too little. And because he's in my brain, he's about 5 years older than his sister. He knows a lot. He reads, he is curious, he's inventive, and he wants to go out and conquer the world. And his little sister adores him, but Rosie has a mind of her own, and she knows when to put Rafi in her place and teach him lessons. I love the relationship. They rose in the pages of my sketchbooks. And I tell kids when I go to schools, to be an author, sometimes you just have to draw and let those characters breathe in, breathe out of the imagination that you have, the antics that you've seen, that you've lived, the things that you have lived or you would like to do. So that's how all my books for Rafi and Rosie started. Today, I consider Rafi and Rosie ambassadors to the culture of the island. Yes, there are 5 books, and the first one was Rafi and Rosie, which began, by the way, with something that happened to me as a very young girl. My dad showed me how you can find iron in the sand. He took this very large, powerful magnet. He poured, we had gone to the beach, and he poured some sand. This sand is from Puerto Rico, by the way. He put it onto a cardboard cardboard lid, and he took the magnet under it and he moved it. And as he moved it, he showed that the gray sand turned into white sand or whitish and black sand, which is not really sand, right? It's science. For me, it was magical. I was very little. That little instance from my childhood kept in my brain. And I brought it up as Rafi, of course, tricks his little sister, telling her that he has magic fingers and he can turn gray sand into black and white sand. That first story led to two more, which appeared in Rafi and Rosie. And Rafi and Rosie is about the nature of the island and the science behind some of the marvels that we as kids think that are magic. So that led, having the characters, that led through Rafi and Rosie Carnival. And of course, as the title says, it's about carnival. El Carnaval de Ponce, por supuesto, porque el Carnaval de Ponce, it's a fabulous carnival where you have masqueraders, opportunities for Rafi to trick his sister and his sister to teach lessons to Rafi. And oh, by the way, it is really about the sibling relationship. And because it's set in the island, every single, the island gives the series the opportunity to marvelous rollicking adventures, which are plenty of troubles in which the key triffers get into and solve, either together or one of them, usually Rosie, solves it for his brother. So Rafi and Rosie Paras, because of course, you know that we have the last, if you didn't know, I'm going to tell you, the last Pirate of the Caribbean was Cofresi, who happens to be from the island of Puerto Rico, and Rafi and Rosie music, where I talk about the music of the island. How couldn't I talk about bomba salsa and plena? I had to. So I just wanted to mention briefly that all my books, as you saw, started with a sketchbook. This was the very first dummy of the first one. It happened in the first book, Rafi and Rosie, was published in 2004. The last one, Rafi and Rosie Menu, is going to be published now almost 21 years later. So I would say the cookies have had a long run. I have touched in many subjects that the island has, many of the beautiful subjects the island has to give us. It is rich with culture, with language, and I write both the English and Spanish, as well as I do all the illustrations. And unlike other illustrators, I do everything by hand. So yes, I end up doing all the illustrations for the books with watercolors. This is from one of the spreads from music, watercolors and color pencil. And yeah, you don't make mistakes when you do it by hand. You can't. Otherwise, you have to start all over again, which is the difference with digital, where you can actually remove things. But as you see, this is also from music. The color, I tried in every single one of the illustrations to convey the beauty and the beautiful colors of the islands, even though I have very limited space in a beginner reader. And I had talked about the nature, the history, carnival, some of the traditions. We have many traditions, the legends surrounded forts like El Morro in San Juan, in Pirates, and I needed to end with food. Why wouldn't I, right? So Rafi and Rosie Menu, Rafi y Rosie Menu. And it is menu. Why? Because I struggled with this. I wanted to give kids a full menu. I started with the fact that there's one dish in particular that brings me memories of my childhood. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, parents from Argentina, grandmother from Uruguay, married to a Cuban. Yeah, lots of Latino in me. And I wanted to reproduce a dish that really screams Puerto Rico when you are in the mainland, and that is the pasteles puertorriqueños. And pasteles puertorriqueños, if you don't know what they are, well, just go buy the book to find out not only what they are, how to make them, because the recipe that I have been doing for the past, I have been holding a pasteles making party for the past 20 years, has been tweaked to I would say perfection in my taste. Of course, I'm prejudiced, but it looks like nothing. This is a junta de pasteles made in in my kitchen, and I hold a party because the assembly is very complicated. It takes many steps, and I hold a party to assemble them together, and that is what gives the thread that gives the book, the book, Rafi and Rosy menu, the platform in order to create stories that the little critters need to yeah, Guadalupe, you will have that recipe for sure because it will be published both in English and in Spanish. The Rafi and Rosy need to surmount problems in those stories, and because it is menu, I wanted to have an appetizer, arañitas, and if you don't know what arañitas are, again, get the book. The recipes included. Arañitas, they are crunchy, delicious, better than potato chips. They are absolutely, and they're made with green plantains. You also have the main dish would be the pasteles, and then a dessert, guava shells in syrup. And I'm not quite sure how am I doing with time because I haven't been checking, but let me know if haven't been looking at if I have a little bit more time here. Oh, okay. So I'm wrapping it up. 1 minute. So yes, let's see. Oh yes, I didn't tell you about this. Why Rafi and Rosy? Why did I keep doing these books for the past 20 years? Because kids love them, because kids respond to them. Actually, the last book, Rafi and Rosy menu, in part is because these kids in a public school in Boston, Massachusetts, wrote to Lee and Low saying, both letters in English and in Spanish, saying how much they liked the Rafi and Rosy, the characters, and how much they wanted another book. So I'm pretty sure that these second graders, who absolutely are fantastic in writing these letters, persuasive letters in second grade, they had a lot to do with the fifth book, because up until then, it wasn't sure that I would have another book. So after they wrote this persuasive letter, my editor came out of retirement to help me edit the last and final book of Rafi and Rosy. And I really hope that you get to read all of them. And I really think there's 3 adventures in each one. So 3 por 5, 15. 15 adventures to read. And once you hook a reader into the characters, once they relate to the characters, they will keep coming for more because they want to know. They know how they behave with each other. They want to know what trouble they get in and how are they gonna get out of it. Muchas gracias, y lean y cocinen y bailen con Rafi y Rosy.
Thank you so much, Lulu. It's such a treat to see behind the scenes of your work, to see the sketches. And I think if you look in the chat, everyone agrees their vibrant illustrations are fantastic. But we did have one question. You sort of answered it. We had a question from Kim about whether you write in Spanish or English. And I know you said both, but I think we would love to hear maybe a little bit more about if one comes first or what your process when you write is. And you're muted.
Actually, the story starts in the sketches, literally just drawing. And then because I have been doing this for a long time, now I come up with a little summary in English. And then I write it in English first. But then the beautiful thing is when I have to put it in Spanish, because I even, 43 years later here in the States, I still have trouble with English language, which is why I adore my editor who's retired. But the Spanish comes so easy. It's just, oh my God, now I'm on vacation. I get to do it in Spanish. And there's always, it's a breeze. So because we're here in the States, I have to write first in English, and then it gets to be written in Spanish. It's not always, because I've done books like Olenguito from A to Z, which was first in Spanish, and there's a reason behind. And if you want to know, just check out the book out of the library or get it from Leon Lowe.
Thank you so much. We're so grateful they're in both languages. I think that's such a gift. And hi, everyone. My name is Shaughnessy Miller. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the assistant marketing manager here at Lee & Low. I am a white woman with blue eyes and long wavy brown hair, and I'm sitting in front of a terracotta colored wall. And now we're going to jump into chapter books and novels for older readers. So starting with chapter books, we have the latest Spanish translations in our Empowering Nonfiction, the Story of chapter book series. So we have La Historia de la Ambientalista Wangari Maathai, and it chronicles the life of the first African woman and environmentalist to win a Nobel Peace Prize. Maathai is an inspirational person who not only transcended the limits placed on women and girls in society, but also supported her countrywomen in their struggles for equal rights and meaningful work. Her passion for science led her to study in the United States. After returning home, she used her knowledge to save the land one tree at a time. Her work highlights the importance of protecting our environment, including the negative results of depleted natural resources, and how each person can make a difference. In La Historia del Clavadista Olímpico, Sammy Lee, award-winning author Paula Yu dives into the life of an athlete that broke barriers and became the first Asian American to win an Olympic gold medal. The book touches on Lee's medical career as a doctor, highlighting how a person can have multiple interests and achieve many different successes through their life. It also realistically explores the complexity of social attitudes and personal struggles created by racial barriers. Every title in our The Story of chapter book line introduces independent readers to a diverse historical figure with a powerful life story. Sidebars provide additional information about subjects mentioned in the narrative text and include highlighted vocabulary words, timelines, glossaries, and recommended reading. Other authentic Spanish translations in this series also include La Historia del Héroe de los Derechos Civiles, John Lewis, and La Historia de la Estrella de Cine, Anna May Wong. Middle grade readers' epic adventures through a solar punk ancient Egypt continue with the third installment in the Shadow Prince series. In A Rage of Lions, Ash and his friends race against time to save Egypt again. This time, it's to stop a war with Kush and its raging, roaring, lion-headed god, Epidemic, who is gathering a massive army of the living and dead to invade Egypt. The odds don't look good for Team Shadow Prince, but they may have a chance when they meet a boy who wields a strange Kushite magic channeled through henna tattoos on his skin. Will Ash and his friends stand a chance against the mighty rage of lions that threaten all of Egypt? Or will Lord Set's deadly plan finally bring Egypt to its knees? This high-energy sci-fi fantasy series is a perfect read-alike for Rick Riordan Presents, like the Tristan Strong trilogy. The books also have strong curriculum hooks for ancient Egypt and Egyptian mythology, as well as STEM connections with its use of solar energy. And for this third installment, Ash and his friends are faced with stopping an all-out war. As they travel south of Egypt into another country, they find that they have more in common with the people of Kush than they originally thought, and work at breaking down barriers, both physical and metaphorical, that separate their people. They uplift each other, problem solve, and play off their strengths to inevitably win the day. This series is not only engaging, but it's super eye-catching. Imagine all three of these beautiful covers and their spines perfectly lined up together on a bookshelf. There are also excellent audiobook editions from Recorded Books for books 1 and 2, with the third one on its way. Next, we're celebrating an exciting anniversary for one of our award-winning graphic novels. Yummy, The Last Days of a Southside Shorty by G. Neary came out 15 years ago this August. The story follows 11-year-old Roger, who is trying to make sense of his classmate Robert Yummy Sandifer's death. But first, he has to make sense of Yummy's life. Yummy could be tough as a pit bull sometimes, Other times, he was as sweet as the sugary treats he loved to eat. Was Yummy some sort of monster or just another kid? As Roger searches for the truth, he finds more and more questions. How did Yummy end up in so much trouble? Did he really kill someone? And why do all the answers seem to lead back to a gang, the same gang Roger's older brother belongs to? Since its publication, this compelling and utterly tragic story, based on actual events that occurred in Chicago in 1994, has received multiple starred reviews and awards, including a Coretta Scott King Author Award honor and 5 state reading lists. Award-winning cartoonist and former national ambassador for young people's literature, Jean Luen Yang, called it compassionate and unflinching. Yummy continues to find its way into the hands of young people via classrooms and libraries because it is gritty, real, willing to ask tough questions, and willing to trust that readers will be able to reach their own conclusions. Jean Neary knows how to strike exactly the right chord with teens. If the readers at your school want more from him, hand them Safe Passage. This companion graphic novel is also set in the South Side of Chicago, roughly 30 years after the death of Robert Yummy Sandifer. The fragmentation of gangs has made the streets of Chicago more fraught for kids. It's amidst this backdrop that the trio of protagonists take an epic journey to find an armored truck that has lost a payload of cash. As with Yummy, educators will be able to use this book to inspire discussions about crime, school, socioeconomic class, racial justice, and how social media can be used to distort narratives. Supporting Teacher's Guide and Front Matter add information to the discussion. And don't forget to check out Jean Neary's additional titles with Lee and Low. In Grand Theft Horse, he returns to graphic novels with the powerful story of his cousin Gail Rufu, who stole a racehorse in order to save it and ended up fighting the whole racing industry for the humane treatment of animals. And Chess Rumble, which is a story in free verse about a troubled boy who learns to use his mind instead of his fists through the guidance of an unconventional mentor and the game of chess. In a rare departure from children's books, we are proud to be reissuing The Amato Women. This page-turning family drama was originally published for an adult audience by Cinco Puntos Press. In Southern California, divorced matriarch Mercy Amato worries deeply for her 3 daughters. Bound by blood and separated by secrets, the Amato women must come together in the face of daunting circumstances. Can Mercy bring her daughters back together following a string of earth-shattering events, or will the Amato women close ranks and lose each other in the process? LA native Desiree Zamorano teaches linguistic and cultural diversity at California State University, Long Beach. In this historical fiction novel set around 9/11, she blends heart-wrenching trials with hope. The Amato Women liberates itself from many stereotypes of Mexican-American women and portrays 4 successful and educated women from an upwardly mobile Latina family in the suburbs of LA. The LA Times called it an entertaining and important novel and said it offers a valid, realistic depiction of a group of Latinas largely ignored in US literature. And now back to Jen.
Thanks, Shamsi. Now I'm excited to introduce you all to award-winning author Guadalupe Garcia McCall, whose prolific backlist of titles is presented to you on this slide. And in case you're interested, all of these titles are available as audiobooks, via recorded books, or in the case of Summer of the Mariposas, listening library. We would also like to give a special shout out to Echoes of Grace, which was recently named one of the best books of the 21st century so far by Kirkus Reviews. And before we bring her out, I, of course, would like to introduce Guadalupe's exciting new young adult novel that's releasing this October, Fall of the Fireflies. This new novel expands the world of her beloved Summer of the Mariposas, which has nearly 1 million copies in print. But don't worry, readers won't have to be familiar with Summer of the Mariposas to enjoy this new series. The first book in the Seasons of Sisterhood trilogy, Fall of the Fireflies, is a reimagining of Sophocles' Antigone. The story follows 15-year-old twins Delia and Velia as they plan the launch of their magic twin tour with their father's Tejano band. When a sudden supernatural attack makes their papa delirious with a susto, a fright so awful that it allows a mysterious supernatural being to begin to slowly suck the life out of him, the twins must hunt down their attacker. A wider world of borderland monsters soon open up to them. Each twin has her own decision to make with her own guide from the Aztec pantheon. Quetzalcoatl guiding Belia, and Shalott advising Delia. Soon the girls must choose. Should they follow a divine mandate to become monster hunters for the goddess of death? And can they obey the will of the gods while saving their father's life? The page-turning monster hunting mystery will publish simultaneously in Spanish as El Otoño de las Luciérnagas, translated by Guadalupe's good friend and acclaimed writer David Bowles. This fun and magical story set on the Texas Rio Grande will pair well with celebrations and lessons during Latina Heritage Month or about Mesoamerican folklore. Delia and Belia are a dynamic girl twin duo, but they're also beginning to find their ways as individuals as they navigate the dynamics of their blended family, healing from past mistakes. Teens will be drawn to this thriller full of magical realism and high stakes adventure. We hope you're excited about it just as we are. So now I'll go ahead and pass it over to Guadalupe herself to chat more about Follow the Fireflies.
Hi, I am so glad to be here. My name is Guadalupe Garcia McCall. I am a Latina or Mexican American author. I have dark black hair. I'm wearing a blue shirt with my favorite pearls, which are pistachio colored. And in the back, you will see my closet because I'm in my office. The doors are white and the background is gray. Well, I'm here to talk about this brand new offering, Fall of the Fireflies. I want to share a slideshow because I want to talk about how it came about. And yes, David Bowles, thank you very much because you are always inspiring me. And I'll give you the details about that. So let me begin here. Season of Sisterhood series. It is unexpected for me as it is for my readers that I have this new series. It all started in 2012 when I wrote the Mexican American reimagining of Homer's Odyssey. The reason I wrote this book, and I think it's important to go there, but the reason that I wrote this book is because I had a group of students who did not want to read the Odyssey. They just kept telling me that it was a book about guys, with guys going on adventures, guys getting magical gifts from the guys fighting monsters from Greek mythology. And what were the women doing? The girls in my class asked me. What are they doing? They're weaving for 20 years. One of them even said, I'm not weaving for some guy for 20 years, no matter how cute he is. We had a good laugh that day, but I did talk to them about the time period in which that book was written and why it was important to read it now and study it for women's issues, equality, diversity, and where we need to go to continue to do good work for the females, the women in our world. And so the girls agreed to read the Odyssey, and as they were leaving, their leader, the one that had done all the talking, she turns to her friend and she says, "It's not fair. We need our own Odyssey." And oh my God, the light bulb just went on in my head. And I thought, oh my God, of course, I'm a writer. I can do this. I can write an Odyssey for girls. I can turn the hero's journey into the heroine's journey. Why not? And I went home and I just took the sticky notes out and I started using the hero's journey as a structure to plot out how I was going to do this. And I thought, okay, Odysseus was a man and he had a lot of men because he was their general. We have a girl who has a lot of friends. But then I thought, no, I don't want to do a lot of friends because then I'm going to have to deal with a lot of parents. And I thought, wait a minute, Odysseus's men never listened to him. Just like my sisters. I have 5 sisters and they never listen to me. So there we go. I'm going to be Odilia and my sisters are going to be coming along on the adventure. Why not? We have Mexican monsters. We don't need Charybdis. We don't need the sirens. We have the lechuzas and the chupacabras. We have nahuales and brujas. We have all kinds of monsters in our mythology. And then I started thinking about Athena and the gods that were involved in the Odyssey, and I thought, We have our own gods. We have our own pantheon of Aztec and Nahua peoples in their legends and lore. And I thought I can do this. So I just did the whole thing. It it wrote itself. I felt like I was a vessel and I was just writing this story of adventure where the girls find a body in the Rio Grande and they're so empathetic to the loss of that life that they feel like they have to take it home to its family and thus started their adventure. Of course, they angered somebody along the way, just like Odysseus, and then that person sent about the chupacabras and the lechuzas and the nahual after them, and the girls had to meet to atone to the goddess Tonantzin. So they went on an entire adventure. Well, that book just took off, and I've been so fortunate that almost 1 million copies have been sold, and that I've been able to visit so many schools across the country. But the biggest takeaway for me when I went to those schools is they always wanted two things. They wanted to know when the sequel was coming out. When are you going to write another one? And they would always tell me, I want to hear Juanita's story, or I want to hear Velia's story, or the twin story, or Pita's story. And I would always say, well, I don't know. And then they would, and the second thing they would always ask is, when is the movie coming out? I was like, I don't know. So one day I'm sitting there writing in the middle of the night, like, late into the evening. And I get a text message from David Bowles, who is my collaborator. And he says, hey, I was thinking, what if blah, blah, blah happened to Pita? And I was like, what? And I started thinking about it and I wrote back, yeah. And then what if she did this, this, and this? And then he goes, yeah. And then her mom would say this, and this. And before you know it, we're having this entire huge long thread of text messages where we're inventing a new adventure. And then I said, oh my God, David, can I write this? And he said, you better write this. I want to read that book. Most of these ideas are yours anyway. I just kind of started the thread. And so I went ahead and I started writing the story of Pita. And I'm like, not kidding you, halfway through that, when all of a sudden Juanita in my brain, because I see the books as movies in my brain, she says, don't get it. Why does Pita get her own story? I'm the smart one in the family. Why does she get God helping her? I'm the smart one. I'm the one that should be going on this adventure. I'm the one that should be getting God's helping me. And then I was like, oh no, please don't do this. And then the twins started arguing that no, they needed to go on their own adventure. And before you know it, I'm like, stop, think, plan. And there it went. I created 3 separate storylines, one for each of the sisters. Of course, I couldn't separate them when I'm talking about Velia and Delia because they're twins and they've always done everything together, finished each other's sentences. But then once I started writing their own stories, so I thought, okay, where do they fall chronologically? And I found out that they were not in order of birth, but that's okay because that's just the way things fell in the scope of this series. So we start the series with this very first book, of course, Fall of the Fireflies, and it is a reimagining of Sophocles' Antigone because of course in Antigone she has a sister, Ismene, who is not on the same page as she is. And so I thought, okay, why wouldn't they be on the same page? Well, it's 2.5 years later. They've grown, they've evolved, they've moved in different directions, which is something that happens a lot to twins. And then I thought, okay, well, that's what's happening then. The girls are 15 years old, not 12. It's been almost 3 years, 2.5 years. And when their father is attacked by a mysterious supernatural force, the twins are caught up in a rescue mission full of Aztec gods and things that go creep in the night. especially La Mano Pachona, the hairy hand, a monster severed hand that has like ideas of her own. And so they don't know what this thing wants or why it's attacked their father. But they do learn from their grandmother that it's not susto in the way that people think of susto, this really crazy kind of maddening kind of fright that people consider susto. Because I was talking to David about that, and David said, "You know about the three souls, don't you?" And from the Nahua tradition. I said, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." He said, the Nahua people believed that we have three souls, and we have one tonagi, which is in your brain, and it is part of your personality. And then there is the Toriolia, and that is in your heart, and it's your passions. So while this is your conscious, this is your passions. And then the third one lives in your liver, and that's your coraje, your passion that is so exalted that it wants justice, and it has all these strong emotions. And so that's where bile comes from, right? From the strong emotions. And he said, but out of all three, the only one that can leave your body is the tonai. It's your conscious. And so when it leaves, if it doesn't return, you die. And I was like, oh my God, people say you die from susto. So the girls, that's what's happening. The girls have to go and find out who took Papa's tonai and what do they want with it, and can they get it back. And in the meantime, of course, there's all these gods interfering, having their own plan for them, which is what makes it an adventure, a fantasy. So after that, we have the second book, which is coming out hopefully in 26, maybe early 27. It is called Spring of the Cicada, and it is a reimagining of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And this is Juanita's story. Um, in the middle of a winter storm of global proportions, Juanita is led to an aposento, an otherworldly subterranean facility where Mama has been guarding the monsters her twin sisters have captured. The goddess Chalchiplique asks her to undertake the mission now that she knows the family secret. But biomedical engineering student Juanita has other plans. She believes these supernatural creatures are more than important. Their resilience and ability to adapt, evolve, and survive in magical, mysterious ways could help us save the world's flora and fauna from extinction. And Juanita's just been given the keys to the kingdom. And so she's very smart, but a little misguided in thinking that she can create life, just like Frankenstein did. And I can't wait for you to read that story. I'm actually revising it right now, and it's turning out so beautiful. The last story is in the Seasons of Sisterhood series is book 3, Winter of the Witch Moths, a reimagining of Beowulf. And this is Pita's story. She is now 16 years old, and as Pita comes into young adulthood, she must defeat her personal monsters and step forward to save herself, her family, and her community from the dark forces that want to transform her into one of their own. In this personal journey of transformation, Pita learns to harness her anger to become Paloma Negra, a superhero working with her sisters Delia, Belia, and Juanita, chronicling their adventures on their YouTube channel, Cucuy Hunters of the Rio Grande. And you see that in the first book. And making the world a safer place, one vanquished monster at a time. I hope that when readers read this series, they see that the same themes are present in all of the books. These themes are holding fast to familial ties, building community, facing our fears, finding our identity, and earning the freedom to live. It struck me once I had finished writing them all that I'm doing something that is very important to me. I'm showing the evolution of our hearts, of our souls as humans having this human experience, as divine creatures having a human experience in this world. In Mariposas, the girls were surviving magical creatures. In Fireflies, the girls are hunting the magical creatures. And then in Cicadas, the girls are healing magical creatures. And in the end, in Witch Moths, they are becoming magical creatures. I hope you enjoy this series, and I hope that you have a wonderful time reading it to your students. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Guadalupe. That wraps up the Lee and Low Fall 2025 Showcase. Thank you everyone for sticking around with us. Many thanks to my presenter colleagues, and of course our authors, Lulu Delacre and Guadalupe Garcia McCall. A few things, if you want to stick around, we want to mention before we let y'all go for the day. If you're advocating for books in the face of censorship where you live or work, we hope you will report it with ALA or PEN America. Book resumes are readily available on the Unite Against Book Bans Book Resumes Hub. The URL is bookresumes.uniteagainstbookbans.org. The resume details the book's significance and educational value and is easy to share with administrators, elected officials, or board members. Find book resumes for beloved award-winning books like Gabby, a Girl in Pieces, I Am Alfonso Jones, When Aiden Became a Brother, and more. We are incredibly grateful for everyone out there defending our freedom to read. Stay up to date on all things Lee and Low by following us at Lee and Low on your favorite social media platforms, including TikTok, Threads, Blue Sky, and YouTube. Want the latest updates sent straight to your inbox? Go ahead and sign up for our e-newsletter. That's all for today, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We can't wait to chat about books with you again soon. Until then, we hope you take care of yourselves. Thank you.